non-human primates in general before I kind of go back to my initial question. What can we learn from these guys for the evolution of human bipedal gait? So remember, capuchins, they use this bent hip, bent knee gait during bipedal locomotion. They have significant knee yield during stands, and they also during the swing phase they have to kind of flex their knee and hip quite highly to gain ground clearance for their feet. And the center of mass is very high for their bipedal gait. And all these characteristics, they are very different from humans. The fastest running speed, so they use some kind of running gait quite often. They are significantly lower on 2 legs than on 4 legs, and their running steps, even though they are running steps, they are not like human running. They lack an extended aerial phase, and that's all these kind of characteristics the capuchins they seem to share with whatever other few species we kind of have data for. So that seems to be kind of generally true for non-human primates. And with that, I will turn to my original goal here. What can we learn about from these non-human primates about the evolution of human bipedalism? And the question is, did Lucy and Arnie and their next of kin walk like us? And when you're going to deal with fossils, of course, you can put them on treadmills, you can put oxygen masks on them. So you only have bones. And what you have to find are bony landmarks that tell you something that correlate with gait mechanics. And one of the key features in gait, in bipedal gait, is actually the pelvis and how you balance the pelvis. And this is work, it's a classic study by two of my colleagues, Jack Stern and Randall Sussman from 1981. They did an EMG study of various hip muscles and how they are used. And this is our main hip abductor, the teres medius, that originates from the side of the iliac blade and goes to the side of the femur, to the greater trochanter. And that is a muscle that keeps our hip balanced, horizontal, as we lift 1 foot off the ground. So that brings it back. And this is the typical activity pattern that you find throughout the stance phase. That is virtually the only big muscle that fires consistently throughout stance to just keep that hip from dropping to the swing side. So it originates in humans from the side of the pelvis here. Chimpanzees have the same muscle, and it also originates from the iliac blades. But in chimpanzees, the iliac blades are not oriented sideways, they don't come wrapping around, but they face almost completely backwards. So which means that in chimpanzees, this muscle doesn't work as an abductor. It is actually, in chimpanzees, it rotates, and the function, nevertheless, is the same as in humans. Chimpanzees use this gluteus medius as they walk bipedally and kind of have only one leg on the ground. Their hip drops, same problem as in humans. If you have only 2 legs to support yourself, take one off, then you experience this. However, if you do it on a flexed leg, the pelvis rotates. It doesn't kind of drop like in us, but on a flexed leg, it rotates. And then you can use a rotator to bring it back, and this is how chimpanzees use it when they walk bipedally. So Stern and colleagues, they have put electrodes in there, have traced this, and in other situations, we know very clearly that the gluteus medius is a rotator muscle in chimpanzees. So here we have a bony feature, iliac blades that face sideways versus backwards. And now let's look at some of the fossils. So at the time of the study here, we only knew Lucy, and here she is, and you're looking down onto the pelvis here of Lucy, of a semi-pelvis actually, this midline, in comparison to a chimpanzee pelvis and a human pelvis. Chimpanzee, the iliac blades face pretty much completely backwards. In humans, a large part of it faces sideways. So that's the attachment side of gluteus medius. In Lucy, most of it faces backwards. So what we think on the basis of this bony anatomy, we think that Lucy was not capable of kind of balancing, keep the hip horizontal, balancing the hip on an extended limb, but could only do it on a flexed limb when gluteus medius had a chance to act as a rotator instead of an abductor. How about Adi? These are the pelvis fragments of Adi, and this is the pelvis after reconstruction. And it actually looks fairly modern. So you see that a lot of the iliac blades is actually facing sideways. However, if you look at the original, it is really fragmented. The upper half of the iliac blades here is totally missing. It is highly reconstructed. And people that have seen the original, one of them, kind of a famous paleoanthropologist, Wood, he described it as a bag of cornflakes that somebody sat on for at least 2 hours. So these are all little pieces, and they were put together, and we believe with quite a bias. So this is a very modern looking pelvis, but it's hard to kind of go from here to there. So the word I think is still out whether kind of Ardipithecus walked on a completely extended hip and was able to balance itself on that hip. But I can, most people say the word is out, but I've come down on one side. Clearly, I actually don't think it was possible. And one of the reasons why I'm convinced of that is, whenever you put a non-human primate on 2 legs, I mean, these are all animals, and that includes Ardi, that walk with a flexed hip, when they do their normal business, walking on 4 legs. And so when they get up on 2 legs, they cannot all of a sudden, kind of use their muscles like a biped. So I actually think that kind of before we became habitual bipeds, we went through a stage of a bent hip, bent knee gait. One of the things that I'm currently exploring, exploring is this kind of that kind of the gaits that we find in non-human primates. They are not walking gaits like we show them, and everybody focuses on walking as the early form of bipedalism because somehow people simply think, oh, that's easier because it's slow, the forces are lower. But I think we should not kind of exclude running mechanics offhand, and that is one of the directions I'm currently also still kind of exploring. But if it was a running gait, the early bipedalism in the hominid lineage was a running gait. It was certainly not a fast running gait. So what we find when these non-human primates run is a slow run, not a fast run like in humans. So I think that kind of whatever motivated kind of the evolution of human bipedalism was not kind of was not gaining high speed or based on the locomotor efficiency data, also not motivated by kind of walking in a more economical way. So there were other reasons for the earliest hominids to get up onto 2 legs. And by analogy to kind of what we see in virtually all non-human primates, it's 3 situations. It's transport, it's tool use, and it's kind of getting up to just be high up and look around and see where the bad guys are, or where the fellow good guys are.